All right. Welcome to another episode of a podcast. And today we'll talk about thriving as an empath. And I have with me Rebekha Wolf. And hi, good to see you. And we are gonna run a course on this at the end of June. And it can be an online 5-week course. It's gonna be fantastic. But we want to talk a little bit just in general about how do you thrive as an empath and what actually makes you an empath. So what
Yeah,
is empathy and what is being an empath? Because there's a lot of misconceptions out there, aren't they?
there really are.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, we're all empathic on
that's
some
right.
level. Some of us are way more sensitive or in tuned
Mhm.
and have that knowing already. And then some of us are just kind of discovering like what are some of those other ways I sense energy and can pick up on what others are experiencing or feeling or um, you know,
Yeah. And I want to give
yeah,
an example. People think like, oh, empaths are just people who feel other people's feelings like energetically and everything, and that's true. But that's only one type, and
yeah,
all of us have some kind of level of understanding or picking up other people's emotions. I'll give you the example. If you walk into a room and you see someone arguing with someone,
yeah,
you immediately start to tense up. You immediately start to feel like, okay, whoa, what's happening? What can I do about this? And we are social creatures. We are designed to pick up on other people's emotions and feelings and what's going on so we can
mm,
understand how to handle ourselves.
yeah,
So it's so much more than just those who are like picking up other people's emotions, and everybody has a little bit of that. We are designed, structured to be that way and to understand and be aware of what is happening around us. But what
yeah.
are some other examples that you have of how people perceive other people's feelings, emotions, thoughts,
Yeah. I mean,
energies?
really it comes through like just understanding the clairs and then which ones are your kind of like default clairs,
So tell me a
right?
little
And
more about that.
the clairs are our spidey senses, our extra senses,
Yeah, exactly.
other than like the taste, smell, touch, the five that we're taught in school. The clairs are our mind's eye, like what do we see in that clairvoyant space? It's almost like for me, when I close down my eyes or like tune into my clairvoyance, it plays like movies of a scene or shows me pictures or brings in images in that way.
Hmm.
We also have clairaudience, which is how we hear, like hearing beyond just like that physical sense of hearing that we think about.
That's right.
Clairsentient is like that clear feeling space, and feeling can be like feeling emotion or like physical sensation in the body. It's just like
That's
using
right.
the body as a tool, as your tuning fork. And then claircognizance, and those are the
That's
four
right.
like main ones. There are other clairs, but those are the four main ones. And claircognizance is just like that clear knowing. It's kind of like
Not
you're in
knowing,
that
yeah.
conversation with a friend, and then all of a sudden you drop like this amazing advice, and you're like, where did that come from?
That's right.
That's your claircognizance, like online.
That's right.
So it's
Connected.
like getting to know those, like which ones are your defaults? Because we all have a default one that we kind of lean into, not even knowing that we're using that as a sense. Um,
That's
so
right. That's
yeah, it
right.
goes beyond just like that feeling sense, like that we're taught is like, oh, you feel what others are feeling, you must be empathic. But it's far more than that. And like we all have that ability. So,
Right.
you know,
So I
yeah,
think the key point is not we all have a bit of it. Some people have obviously a lot more to a point of like it really is becoming challenging to
yeah,
go to a supermarket, go to parties, go to like start to like, okay, this is becoming limiting because it's just too much to handle. So I think
yeah,
an important part is what we're going to cover in the training in the course is that okay, how to learn how to manage it, how to have some techniques
yes,
and tools and how to instead of like being and I like to call it victim mentality of like, oh, this is happening to me, I can't handle it. Instead of like, okay, how can I manage it? So empower yourself
yeah,
to like, okay, how can I really manage it? How can I like, okay, what can I do right now to help myself? And turning again, we're turning it from a challenge, like again, for people especially who have a hard time with too much social events and social connections, and into a thriving ability to empower yourself and know how to handle it and know how to say no and boundaries and all
yeah,
that kind of stuff like that
yeah,
that are so important, so important. And when you talk about boundaries, I like to talk about relationships because a lot of time people that are empaths are not necessarily empaths to everybody else, but they're
Mm,
really empathic to their like partners or kids
mhm.
or people who are
Yeah.
they're very close with, or close friends, and they're very, very empathic to them. And whenever they're in crisis, first of all, they can feel it miles away. But I
Mhm.
think a lot of people can report this kind of synchronicity.
Mhm.
But it's also a matter of like, okay, wow, but this is not good. This is not mine. I'm starting to feel this, and their thoughts and their feelings and emotions and energies, and it's just
Mhm.
not healthy to hold somebody else, especially if they're struggling with something, and they have
Mhm.
lower frequency, lower energy, or and chaotic emotions and stuff like that. So I think the people can relate to that a lot because we can. Some people can swim through the ocean of people, okay, but when it comes to
Mhm.
their close ones, they don't have the boundaries and they don't have the stuff to hold on to separate themselves from the others, and they take on the
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. And there really are like so many tools and practices that you can start to like bring into your awareness and bring into, how you show up when you are in those moments, when you're feeling in that relationship, whether it's a best friendship or whatever, feeling, sensing, you just get that like insight that they're off balance in some
That's
way,
right.
shape, or form, and you want to help. And that's another aspect. Like empaths just have like this deep desire to help or even fix.
That's
And
right.
it's like, you know, those tools will help you hold space better,
Mhm.
help you stay centered so they can then have like this tuning fork of like where is center, and it helps them center so then you can, teach them some of those tools maybe, or like just even being this like grounded space for them so you're both not going through all the
That's right.
chaos. It's
That's
not
right.
feeding each other. It's like there's this space to like anchor in.
Not big escalate the drama.
Yeah, yeah, which is
That's
really important,
yeah,
really important.
yeah.
Yeah. And then also like those that are kind of curious like about their own abilities to be empathic. Like we'll be touching on like how do you tune it as a gift, and so you make it stronger for yourself and really use it to your you know as that gift, like to your advantage,
Yeah.
and instead of just
Yeah.
like feeling like you're not in tune.
And I want to
Yeah.
give example to that because
Yeah.
I use it in my practice with my clients.
Mm,
And sometimes when I wanted to like I learned how to do that, how to separate. Again, we're going to teach that a little bit, how to separate between their noise and my stillness. But
mm,
when I do want to connect with them, and I'm like, okay, well, show me what they're feeling. What are they?
mhm.
Where is that center point in which the most of it is focused in their body? And I'm being shown. I get suddenly, oh, it's a pinch mostly in the heart. And I just do it
Mm.
just to get a sense of where they are at, what they're doing. And then I disengage from that at the end of the session, of course. And we'll try to do that too, a little bit
Yeah.
of energy hygiene. But it's important to know that you can do that. Even so, if
Yeah.
you're looking for it as a practitioner and you want to increase your abilities and to
Yeah.
connect with your clients and do it in a positive way, that is in a healthy way, that you're like, okay,
Mhm.
I'm here to serve this person for this moment. I learn how to connect with them, how to feel and understand where they're at, and then to disengage, to know
Yeah.
how to take off that and not be end up the day and being a vacuum cleaner for other people's emotions and troubles and energies, because that's the, I think, the empaths 101 mistake. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
To, oh, I'll just take your problems, I'll take it
Fix
in
it.
myself, I
They
can
want to
handle it,
fix it.
I can fix it for you, or I'll just take your
Yeah.
pain away. And then they're at the end of the day and they're like freaking in a
Yeah.
mess, because it's like
Yeah.
it's too much. It's too much. It's not yours. It's not your job to take. And then I think an important thing to learn about this is it's not always your role to do it. It's not,
Hmm.
because you are actually, and here's an important thing to understand for people, you're actually disempowering the other person from understanding and
Yeah.
helping themselves and learning how to help themselves by you trying to always take and
Yeah.
do it for them and fix them, as you said. So I think
Yeah.
it's an important part.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I always share with my clients that to think of it as a disservice to those when you just
That's
like take
right.
it from them. It's like you're taking their opportunity to learn something.
That's right. That's right.
So like, how can you support them to actually learn the lesson?
Right.
Just making them feel better is not the solution. How can you tune into that and then navigate from there? So it just gives you like this starting point. Like,
That's right.
here's what's going on.
Yeah.
Use it as a messenger,
And something I'm encountering just brings me a thought that I encounter with a lot of my clients is that they did develop those skills when they were young, very young, as kids, and when they have like no
Yeah.
some whatever it is arguments in the house or some kind of a discord in their
Yeah.
environment, and what they do, they just as kids, no, you just want to help. You want to just
Yeah.
not people to not argue, people to just have peace in the house, to just everything
Yeah.
be okay.
Yeah.
So it's okay when you start doing that. No, it's understandable that as a kid you just want to do it and cope like that and help everybody around you to just feel okay, not be so upset, angry, and we start doing that then, and it's a mistake, but it's understandable how we do it. We just want to help, but it's
Yeah.
important to shift that and learn. Okay, I don't need to be like that all the time, and
Yeah.
and um, and walk in the supermarket and pick up everybody else's garbage.
Yeah.
Um, it's just not the way to be, and so we have to unlearn that and learn a more healthier way of dealing with things.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right with that piece about the being so young. And sometimes it comes down to, your own sense of safety
Oh,
in as a
absolutely.
child too, right? Like it's
Hmm.
not just I want everybody to be happy, but it's like your own survival.
Right.
And it is an instinct that just kind of takes over for that survival space of like, how can
Yeah.
I make it more peaceful or
That's
whatever?
right. And if
Um,
you're feeling threatened by any kind of abuse, you'll
yeah.
do anything
Yeah.
to try to prevent it. And at that point,
Yeah.
if I can just take the pain away from them to just not, for me, not be in pain or suffering,
Yeah.
yeah, that's understandable. And at that point, probably the best thing you can do.
Yeah. Yeah. And it then becomes a pattern
Hmm.
throughout as you grow, right? So, moving into your teenage years and then young adulthood into adulthood, it's now a pattern that becomes a disservice to yourself in terms of how you can navigate and use it as a tool. So just, shifting that perspective of, you know, being at that child and using it as a sense of safety or a sense of ease to get you through that space. Now you can take those steps to learn about like, how can I actually use it as a gift? How can I use this as my superpower now? This is a tool that's like been sharpened over the years, and I've just created bad practices around it, ones that don't serve me anymore. So we
Right.
can, like you said, unlearn and then learn practices that are really supportive for that specifically.
Yeah. So how do you use it as a superpower? For
As a
moving.
superpower.
Yeah.
Yes. So my two strongest clairs are my clairaudient and my clairvoyance. So
Hmm.
um, I'm not the typical empath that you hear about where I feel everyone's feelings. I get a sense of like an image or hearing a message. And most of the time it's with my clients in session, really
Hmm.
tuning into that space. But it served me over the years, before I was even doing sessions like I am today and still working in corporate America and, you know, not really knowing all the tools I have today, but knowing I had that empathy aspect of self. I would use it as a sense of safety in corporate America, and understanding that I would take on the energy, which is one of the things that really drove me to understand it so deeply to be able to help others. Was I would take it on in a unhealthy way, and then the only way I knew how to move it was through movement. So I was like working out and like way overdoing it for my physical body, but it was the only thing that kind of like allowed me to sleep at night. So yeah, as a superpower now, I've really honed those practices of like, how can I amplify it, or how can I keep it finely tuned without dulling it with excess energy And then the benefit is in my sessions with clients, or walking into the yoga studio where I teach and being able to like get a real sense of the room really quick and like, okay, so this is what the class is going to be about. It's like, it just like kind of tunes in and wraps it all together for me in this really beautiful way. And I've come to like really rely on it in a lot of spaces. Like it really is a superpower that I lean into.
Yeah, it's part of the intuitive skills, right? You intuitively,
Yeah.
okay, you pick up what's happening in the room, the energies in the room. You're like, okay, this is what we're going to address today because I can sense it.
Yeah.
You don't say it, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sensing
Yeah.
this is what's needed right now.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And
Absolutely.
just, not always giving people exactly, addressing what they want, but giving them what they need, especially in like that
Yes.
yoga sense when I'm in the classroom, because, I mean, this morning was a perfect example. The sun's in Gemini. So it was so chatty, like it's supposed to be a gentle flow and just like kind of ease into the morning. And everyone was just so high.
Yeah. Oh,
So it's
like,
like,
oh,
yeah, so chatty and just like connecting. So it just like tuning in and like taking in that space and taking a nice deep breath and like allowing myself to calm and center in that energy, and allowed me to like carry the class through like all these different options for them. Like, okay, you can either dial up your energy to move it out, or like dial it down so you can really settle into your center. So it really does become this tool. Like I use it almost every moment of the day, and sometimes without even realizing how much I use it, but so powerful to like tune it as a tuning fork.
absolutely.
Yeah. How
And you
about
don't,
you?
yeah, well, I want to talk about like, and you don't even have to
Yeah.
be a practitioner because most of are doing
Yeah.
healing for work, but you don't have to be like, you just have to
Yeah.
apply to your regular life. And sometimes it's like just taking a break, and again, not being entangled in those energies. Even if you talk to your, no, even if like, someone comes home and from your family and they're like, they had a bad day, and you can pick it
Yeah.
up and they're all upset and like, so what do you do? And a lot of people just want to, oh, I want to help. So you kind of get all engaged in that energy. And
Yeah.
it's important to learn, okay, what do I need to be for this person right now?
Yeah.
And not be
Yeah.
like, oh my God, that's terrible. Instead of being all caught up in, get hooked in to
Yeah.
all those energies, and just like, okay, what is it that I need to do? Okay, this is not mine, first of all, because if they're very upset and you want to help them, don't take it into yourself. You don't have to do
Yeah.
that. It's really actually not a good thing to do for neither of you. Um,
Yeah.
and if you want to be there and you want to hold space for them, that's beautiful. You can do that, hold space for them. And if sometimes it's something that they just need to vent out, and like, and after 10 minutes of venting out, okay, I'm good. It doesn't mean you have to take it in for them. You just need to let it out. They need to process it by themselves. They don't need to, you
Yeah.
don't need to be that, oh my God, I need to do something.
Yeah.
Sometimes that need is not necessarily the right thing to do or in the highest good of everybody around. So I think
Yeah.
it applies for even like your everyday regular daily life. You can do this, and you can apply the skills and techniques that we're going to teach, and really shift it to
Mhm.
being a better version of yourself for yourself and others. Again,
Yeah.
really being of service, and again in a
Yes.
higher level, of performance and of being there for them. And with
Yeah.
that, I wanted to mention about something about boundaries, which is again one of those very hard thing to do for empaths, because most of them are people pleaser on some level, and
Yeah.
they just want other people's to be happy. um
Yeah.
and again, that need is okay, but it needs to be refined. It needs to be
Yeah.
refined to a better space inside, that you're doing it out of the right energies in the right space. And sometimes saying no is the most powerful thing you can do.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of empaths have a hard time saying no, because they know is that the other person might get upset. What do you mean no? Well, what? I thought we
Yeah.
are going to do this, and like, you know what? No, I am not feeling 100%, and I don't want to go.
Yeah.
And they're saying basic stuff like that again on your personal life or to a friend. Or so I think learning how to have boundaries, how to say no, how to have again also energetic boundaries, and we're going to do
Mhm.
more exercises in that.
Yeah.
But the real boundaries, I think, is one of the biggest things, because it is basically all about that. Because we
Mhm.
are moving in. If you think about the quantum field, it's a quantum field of energies and emotion. Emotion
Yeah.
is energy.
Yeah.
Um, at a certain frequency, and we're just going through this soup of
Yeah.
energies throughout the day, whether it's other
Yeah.
people, energies from everything around us, and we just need to know how to keep it at bay and not just be a sponge to
Yeah.
everything or every no Mercury in retrograde and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, it does affect us, but you don't mean you have to be a slave to checking your calendar real quick every time you have to make a decision of where you want to eat
Yeah.
dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, you said of service, and I always love to like make that distinction between being in service and of service. And
Mm,
that example, it's really old, but of the fisherman, you can teach a man
yeah,
how to fish and he can feed his family for life, or you can give him a fish and he has one dinner, right? It's like,
that's right.
that being of service is like this ripple that you can create that's empowering versus, taking all the energy on and like crippling yourself in the process. You're like disempowering and like almost on that hamster wheel of like then always being in that space of like taking on the energy because they're inviting in those same experiences because the lesson's not being learned. So we
That's
find
right.
ourselves in those patterns with people, and even like in our jobs we can get into those patterns because our
Absolutely.
jobs, we have like in our culture this sense of like we need the job because it's how we support ourselves, right? So remembering money also is energy, and that exchange is really important. It's okay to say no at work too,
That's
because
right.
sometimes like that's a really hard obligation to feel like you have to say yes.
That's right.
um
That's right. And a lot of toxic
yeah.
energies at work sometimes, and
Yeah.
that's sometimes the worst place that people have it, and it's
Yeah.
hard to manage. It's hard to manage, and it's important to know how to do it and how to bring balance back into
Yeah.
your life. And we'll talk about more about that too, and how to have those tools of self-care, to
Yeah.
how to rebound. And if it's because it happens, we fall into something, we catch something and feel the toxicity, and we have to okay, what do I do with it now? Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a question for you. Do you know what your two strongest clairs are, or which ones you tend to lean on the
I I
most?
I think it's
The
the
knowing.
knowing,
Yeah.
and because less again less of the emotional stuff. But sometimes again when I ask for it, I can feel
Yeah.
it too. I can
Yeah.
feel where they feeling, what's the center of the emotion, or what the emotion is. But I think so that two I think I use the most the clairsentient and the claircognizant, the knowing. It's just a
Yeah.
knowing. Okay, what is this person feeling? What do they need to know?
Yeah.
And what do they need to experience? What do they need to understand about themselves? So and getting that imprint, that information. But there's again an important aspect of getting the information but not
Mhm.
taking it in.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that's a clear distinction that needs to happen. Like I can understand that what's happening to the person, but I don't have to absorb their energy and take it into my own energy field, into my own experience. It's
Yeah.
not necessary.
Was it clear to you like when you were really young that you were empathic, or was it something that, through experiencing life and learning it became clear to you?
I think again, as a young kid, I didn't know the words for it.
Yeah.
You just don't know it. Just like okay, I see someone's upset, and I'm like, I'm getting upset too. I'm getting anxious. I'm feeling the energies around it. Like both of it out of the desire to help, but also just like okay, I'm feeling the energies. And then like, but it's kind of funny. I remember that I was been like a bit of the helper,
Yeah.
and people like helping people to help and work through their emotions, even as a kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I was my sister's best help. So it's kind
That's
of funny.
awesome.
Yeah. But but as a kid, like sometimes and I think everybody feels that way when you go into really energy that you don't like. You feel like, oh my God, I have to get out of here. I don't
Yeah.
feel like comfortable here. I don't want to be around people right now, or I need a lot more alone time that other people need.
Yeah.
Because I need to recharge and I need to be away from other people's energies. So I was a little bit more of that. I mean, I was very no in school. I was very social and with my friends, but I needed to go home and relax.
Yeah.
and be of myself and get away from that noise and just be on my own. So and so in some way I kind of intuitively managed myself in that way. So I was less no, a lot of kids are a lot more social in that way. And again, I was social, very social school, very, very accepted, very loved, but I was like, but I need my time now to
Yeah.
be alone at home and relax and do my own thing.
Yeah.
So it's again, a lot of us do that intuitively, like, no, like, okay, I need some time off. But it's sometimes hard to do when you have other obligations and especially now as adults, like you have commitments that you have to do and
Mm.
work functions and that kind of stuff. So, but it's
Yeah.
important to know, okay, what energies am I coming with?
Yeah.
What is my intention when I'm coming to this place? And not and not be a victim of the situation or the circumstances, but
Mm.
becoming empowered and being in charge and learning how to manage it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. That's so
Yeah,
true. Yeah.
cool. Is there anything else you want to add about our course?
Um, I mean, it really is for anyone, whether you are already in that knowing space that you are empathic or you're curious of how to turn that aspect of yourself on or tune into it or expand on that. What we're going to cover is really going to support both. And
Mhm.
um, you know, hopefully after listening to this, it's kind of debunked that, like, oh, you're only empathic if you can feel other people's feelings. It's like, no,
Mhm.
there's much more ways to like interpret that energy and tune into what that is. So hopefully that will help, because we're going to touch on all the clairs. Even just in the first week, we'll dive right into the clairs, because knowing how you kind of like receive the energy lays out like how we can cleanse, how we can protect, how we can
Yeah,
set those boundaries, but we have to know, like, how are we getting the information? So
exactly.
yeah, hopefully, no matter where you are on that spectrum of being empathic, you join us, because it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and we're going to cover all aspects of your being, both the
Mhm.
physical aspects of it, the emotional,
Yeah.
the mental and spiritual and energetic aspects of how to handle it, how to again create those protections. And as you mentioned, and it's important to know that we'll address all of it, not just segments of it, because it's frustrating. And this is one of the reasons we created this course and for 5 weeks, not just a one little 2 hour segment,
Yeah.
because it's like there's so many aspects that need to be addressed and to a little more depth and learn how to handle it and how to manage it in a better way. So I think we're really giving a good comprehensive
Mhm.
set of tools and
Yeah.
ways of being, because it really is a way of being and
Yeah.
shifting into again your empowered self, your thriving self, um, and just relating in a different way to yourself and the world.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And each week we have those action steps too. So you get to go
That's
and
right.
like play with what you just learned and then come back and report back, say, hey,
That's right. That's right.
this was my experience. So yeah.
Very cool. And we'll do some fun meditations too. It's not just going to be talk or just
Yeah.
a tool set. It's just going to be a lot of experiential stuff as well,
Yeah.
that we can guide everybody through. So hopefully you joined for us, and hopefully you enjoyed this conversation,
Yeah.
and join us for the course, and hopefully see you guys soon.
Yeah. Yeah. Should we tell them when it starts?
Oh yes, please.
Yeah, June 28th. It's going to be 5:30 p.m. Pacific time,
Yes.
8:30 p.m. East Coast time. And it's going to be every Wednesday from the 28th of June until the 26th of July. You can come and join us live if you'd like. If the timing doesn't work out and you'd rather just catch the recordings will be posted the following day. So you
Yeah.
can catch up that way and still come right along with us.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll probably create a little group for us all to communicate with? I think that's probably fun for us to do, huh?
We can do that.
Yeah. Then
Yeah.
everybody, like, even if you're in the recording, you can interact with like the live group and everything. I think
That's
that'll be
right.
fun.
We can
We'll
do
try it
that.
out.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you, Rebecca. And I'll
Thank
have
you.
all the links for the course and for a little more about Rebecca and myself, if you're interested,
Perfect.
below it. Okay. Thank you,
Awesome. Thank
guys.
you, Harry.
Okay. Bye, Rebecca. Thank you.